Hey there, it's Hillary, and today I'm going to be doing a book review for The Beautiful Ones by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. This book is coming out this month, and I was lucky enough to get my hands on an advanced reader copy, so thank you so much for getting this book in my hands. I absolutely loved it. I gave it 5 stars, and I thought it was one of the best books that I've read so far this year. I did go into this book thinking that this was a new author, and when I looked her up online afterwards, I went to the information on the back. I went to her website and looked at her blog and everything and realized that she actually has a lot of books. So she might actually become an author that I look into because I was so in love with her writing style. The Beautiful Ones is a fantasy that takes place in a historical setting, which is actually something new for me. I've never read a fantasy like this before, and honestly, I don't read a lot of historical fiction, so this book was all around interesting to me from the very beginning. Within the first few pages, I already could tell that I was going to really enjoy this book, and this was the first book in a long time. Now, I've enjoyed a lot of books that I've read lately, but I feel like this is the first book in a long time that I have loved, and I have wanted to do nothing but read it. I've wanted to not sleep and wish that I could call out of work so that I could read it. I don't do either one of those things. I do sleep and I do go to work and I do care for my children. But this book made me not want to do anything but read, and I was so excited because I haven't felt that in a long time. So the idea for this story is about the main character. Her name is Antonina, and she is 19 years old when this book starts, and it is set in a time where girls of that age, they're going to balls so that they can impress men and they can get courted and engaged and married off to men who can take care of them. That's the historical setting that we're set in. And like I said, I hadn't read very many books like that, so I was very, very interested going into this book to read it. So she meets this man named Hector, and she knows who he is because he is actually a performer. The fantastical element in this book is that some people have telekinetic abilities, and Hector is one of these people. He has telekinetic abilities, and he uses that in his shows when he performs. Now, the reason that Nina is so interested in him and knows all about him is because she has telekinetic abilities as well. She is not able to control them as well as he is and tends to make a mess of things, and her family is really hoping that she can meet someone and get married off before she really screws up something with all of these telekinetic abilities that she has. And I don't want to ruin the story because it was so good. So I double checked the synopsis, and the telekinetic abilities and everything is talked about on the back. There is a lot that happens in this book. There is definitely some of those like typical YA tropes that everyone hates in books, like the love triangle and the love at first sight and all of those things. But I did not care. I loved this book so much. I did not care. While I was reading this book, I felt like I was watching a sitcom, and I just could not wait to get to the next episode. I could not wait to keep turning the pages. I could not wait to find out what happens. With all of that being said, as the story travels on, you find out that Antonina and Hector, and romance blossoms between the two of them, but as I've said, there's a lot of those tropes in there, so you don't know. I know because I've read it, but you don't know which character has the extra love interest or all that. But this book is really good. I liked the way there are certain chapters that are told from different perspectives, but it is not something that is difficult to know whose perspective that it is being told from. Within the first line of that chapter, you know whose perspective it's going to be from. And I really liked it because certain chapters, you'd get one perspective, and then the next chapter, you'd get from another perspective, but you'd get a little bit of backstory about what that character was doing before it led up to where the previous chapter was. So it's not totally telling you the exact same story. It is for a short period of time, but it's from a different perspective. So it's not annoying that it's retelling you the exact same thing. This book, the fantasy element was great. I loved the telekinetic abilities. It definitely gave me some like Night Circus and The Weight of Feathers vibes, just those powers and the performers and those type of things. I really enjoyed it. She did a wonderful job of describing things. She did a wonderful job of getting me to care about the characters, disliking certain characters. She made them so terrible there's no possible way that you could like that character, and that was good because you didn't want to. I just loved it. I loved everything about this book. If I did have to pick one thing that was a little difficult, it was the names. There were names of places that definitely had like a French twist on it, which I find very weird because the author is not French. But a lot of these places and names, when I was saying them in my head, I was giving them like a French accent to them. But that piece of the book was such a small detail that it didn't bother me at all. Once I decided how I was going to say that name or that place, that's how I said it throughout the whole book. Whether that's right or wrong, I don't know, and I guess I'll never know unless I listen to an audiobook version of it, which I definitely would because this book was really good. It was so good. I loved it. I loved everything about it, and I definitely would suggest people get their hands on it and read it. I imagine that it is already out since when I'm recording this. It's almost the end of October, but this book was wonderful. I loved the ending of it. It was great. I felt like it was a great way to wrap up this story that she had been weaving throughout the entire book, and it was just great. There were pieces of it that were a little bit predictable, but I was okay with it mainly because I was happy with the outcome of the predictability, or it was one of those things, it was so foreshadowed, you knew it had to happen, but I wasn't disappointed by the predictability of some of the things that happened. If you got your hands on this book and you've read it, leave me a comment down below what you thought of it. If you're super excited to read it, let me know down in the comments, and I definitely would suggest that you get your hands on it and read it because it was so amazing. If you liked this video, please consider leaving me a like, and if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to my channel, and I will see you guys in my next video.